Well, here I'm on the top of the Seceda mountain, and on the other side you can see Langkofel or Sassolongo and Marmolada. And for all paragliders, down there is the southeast launching spot. I will ski down to this place in a minute to have a closer look. Well, yesterday evening some tandem pilots started here, and it seemed to be quite easy and straightforward. Starting at this place where I'm standing at the moment should also be possible. There's also a wind vane here, but I am not really sure if this is an official launching place. According to the map of the German Hang Glider Association, there are only 2 launching places a little bit further down the mountain. Launching would be possible, and I think nobody would say anything. Maybe a little bit careful with the cable car down there, but all together I think it's fine. Down here we see the Monte Pic to the right, and to the left, under beneath the clouds, the Campione. Both also have launching sites where you can launch your glider. So let's have a look at this board which I found at the top station of the cable car from the local paragliding club. And I was wrong. The place I was standing just a minute ago is also an official landing site to the south. So what it says here is that we altogether have 3 launching pads: south, south and east and west. All launching places are very close to the cable car, which is coming up from St. Ulrich and easy to reach. So I'm here now at a launching pad number 2 with direction for launching to the south and to the east. Wind today is from the west. So this launching place here to the south or to the east seems to be very easy. It's not going down very steep. And as I already mentioned, the tandems went out yesterday with a nice evening flight. This direction down here, we see St. Ulrich, where we are heading to with our glider. And we have to have a look at the landing conditions. There's 2 landing places down there. One, well, near the slopes, and the other one on the other side of the mountain. I will try to launch here during the week if the wind conditions are improving. So only 2 days later, I was already able to launch here, and as I said, it's a total easy launching spot right on the slopes. Not a lot of skiers anymore. I went up with one of the latest cable cars from St. Ulrich. With the skiing, you have to be a little bit careful because they're crossing your way, but in the summer I think it's totally easy. So here I am now located at a launching to the west, and the wind is coming perfectly from the west, but launching today is not possible because there's a carpet of clouds around us which are covering all the place. While the southeast launching site was a really easy one, this one seems to be much more challenging to the west if we look at it. Well, up here, certainly you can prepare yourself, maybe 1 or 2 people same time, but the wind has to come steadily from the front, and you have to have a look that you get your glider properly above you. Well, yes, it looks very steep here. Even with the clouds, you cannot really see it, and I don't want to go further to the front with my skiing boots. I don't want to get into a slippery mode here, but here definitely on this launching place you have to have your glider under control, otherwise it's going down, man. So yeah, I think here you need a little bit experience, but if the wind comes steadily from the front then in my opinion it's quite doable. That's it from the launching sites up here. Now I will go down to the landing places. According to the map of the German Hang and Paraglider Association, there's 2 landing places, one on the skiing slopes, I cannot really believe it, and one on the other side of the mountain in St. Ulrich. So let's have a look at the map of the whole area. Up here on the mountain we find the launching site to the south, the launching site to the southeast or east, and the west launching place. If we look at the landing, so there's 2 landing places. One is down here, actually on the skiing slopes over the mountain in a valley where there might also be a lot of wind in some certain conditions in summer especially. And there's a second landing on a big area between St. Ulrich towards St. Christina. Let's have a look at the landing sites in detail. So we have this landing site here to the left, which really seems to be directly on a slope in a quite narrow part of the valley where I can imagine a strong valley wind system in summer. Well, I don't really believe it that it is allowed to land on the skiing area, but it seems to be as it is. No, and the second landing is on a huge field, as I already mentioned, on the way between St. Ulrich and St. Christina. What I doubted all the time turns out to be true. The landing number 1 of Seceda is directly on the skiing slope in the skiing area. The people down there in the bar told me that the tandem pilots are landing directly on the skiing slope, and there's also a wind sock in the trees down there. So how to do the landing here? I think if there's no wind like at the moment, you can just fly in down from the valley up the skiing slope. It should not be too difficult because it's quite a lot of space from bottom to the top. But if you have to fly in from the mountainside and there's only a little wind coming up the valley, then I think it's quite tricky down here. Well, you have to be careful that you do not get too far down the slope and then it gets narrower and narrower and then you are landing in the trees. There's another obstacle, and that's the cable car up there where you should actually lose height and prepare for landing. Altogether, this landing site is, I would say, is quite challenging, especially if there's the valley wind system on in summer. It's not too easy. I have seen easier ones, really. The board from the local paragliding club also gives us some hints for the landing. So if the wind comes from the valley, the landing pattern is towards the right. And if the wind comes down the mountain, the landing pattern is to the left. Also on the sign, there are comments on how narrow the whole landing area is and that you should not fly too close to the trees and avoid any contact with the trees around this landing site. So here 2 more pictures from the landing site, which I took from the cable car. And that's the launching up there. Now I'm at the second landing site, the big field in St. Ulrich, and behind me there's the windsock. Well, and this landing area here looks much more relaxing than the other one on the slopes. If we move to the front here to have a closer look at the whole area, then we can see actually it's a really big, well, a huge field, maybe 500 meters long or so, and the terrain is going slightly down, but not very much, to the houses. So depending on the wind system, if you fly in from the St. Christina side behind me, you should be a little bit lower to get close to the flag here. And if you are approaching from the other side, from the St. Ulrich side, you can fly in a little bit higher depending on the wind situation, of course. Well, a great landing site. So here you can see me after my start on the Seceda, approaching to this big landing field, which you can see down on the left here. Unfortunately, my chase cam didn't make it all the way down to the landing field. It is the old GoPro 4, but I can assure you it was a very easy and soft landing. Nevertheless, even if the camera didn't make it down all the way to the landing, I think you can get a good impression how the landing field is located, which you can see directly in front of me now. Yes, well, at the end I was rewarded with a really nice flight down from the Seceda towards the sunset. A really sundowner flight, which I enjoyed very much. At the beginning I was not really sure when I started up there if I would make it to the landing place number 2 over the mountain, or if this is not possible, but I can ensure now that it is easily possible. You can see me crossing the ridge towards the St. Ulrich Valley here. And well, very nice. I hope you liked this video, and I hope I could give you some insights to this great flight area.